So in this video I wanted to talk about healing the body, because the idea of how to heal the body has confused me for a long time. You'll have to excuse the fact that I'm eating a bacon roll because I want it, so I'll just talk while I'm eating. So I've done the Reiki training, and from the off I felt like something wasn't right. Like there were elements that were correct and elements that were not correct, particularly in terms of like the way they view the chakras, and the way the issues that they say relate to the chakras. Something didn't quite sit right with me, but also that I couldn't help thinking all the way through while doing it, that really it's your thought that's doing more than energy coming out of your hands. While it certainly, I don't say that I disagree that energy is leaving your hands and that energy going into a body can be a benefit, that I think the largest part of what is taking place is due to the thought, the fact that you are believing that that person will be a certain way. And that, to be perfectly honest, I think when you are exposing them to your belief of them being better, that them changing their own mind about how they feel about themselves, in my opinion, is what is actually important about it. So that was one of the first things that struck me about the healing process. And then I've spent about 2 years since then just literally pondering the whole thing and how I think that it works, and doing experiments with myself to test when I'm feeling a certain way, how I can adapt and change it. And every time it's always led me back to really the same thought process, the same belief. And that belief is this: I think that when a child is born and knows nothing about the world, their natural state of being is of the concentration, the mental thought process that encompasses the whole of the body and the whole of the aura, right? And not that it sort of takes any effort to do that, but that it's a natural state of being to have the awareness placed on the self with a wholeness about it, right? And that what happens is, as you, for example, when you're a child, you hurt yourself, right? The pain, let's say you bang your knee, the pain causes you to want to not feel the pain, and so what you do is you take your awareness out of that part of your body as a method of not feeling the pain that's in that part of the body, right? But what happens when you do that is that you are holding away the energy from that area that naturally fills it when your awareness is on it, because thought is energy. All thought is energy. And so if you consistently think of a certain area in the background of your processes in your mind, then you're always sending energy to that area. The moment you try to restrict the thought from going to that area because you don't want to feel pain, you are pulling away the energy from that area, which is the very thing that would actually heal it. So what this means is that the best way to heal the body when it is in pain is not to focus on the pain as such, because that can be a trap in itself, whereby if you focus on the pain solidly in a kind of negative way, you're going to heighten the pain, but also create a problem because you are focusing on the problem. It's not that. It's that you need to relax in such a way that it's okay for the pain to be there, and you have no preference whether it's there or not. Yeah, that is when the energy is just going to carry on flowing freely to there, and it heals fast, right? Every time. This is how you heal your body, right? You literally become aware that if you have an issue in your body, somewhere along the line, you're pulling your energy away from that area, right? And there are books like Louise Hay's book, which, in my opinion, somewhat backs this up. Louise Hay, How to Heal the Body, I think it's called. And it's just literally a reference book that goes through stating that each area of the body, there is a thought process that goes along with it. And I wholeheartedly believe that that is true. I mean, when I've referenced this book to myself, it just makes complete sense that that is the case with particular ailments and that. And I think that what happens is that as you have a particular thing happen in your body, a thing happen in your life, like envy or something like that, like deep-seated envy or something like this, that it seems to naturally have the vibration of a kind of certain area in your body, and then what's actually happening is, when you feel, say, the envy, for example, you feel that envy in a certain part of your body, right? It becomes physical, and you're like, oh, that's horrible. And so because you get a horrible feeling in response to the thought process, you then start to ignore that part of the body as a response to the horrible feeling. Because what's really the case is that how to have fixed that feeling would have been to truly overcome the envy, for example. But instead of overcome the envy, you go, oh, that's an horrible feeling inside myself, I'll ignore it, or I'll section off a portion of myself and tense it. It becomes tense as you, because if you're relaxed, you feel it. So you tense that part of the body in such a way that you no longer have to feel that it's there. In effect, what I'm saying is that, certainly what a lot of spiritual people completely agree with, that all pain or all ailments in the body are essentially tensions that you hold there. What I'm trying to explain is why you hold them there and how you get to that point, right? So essentially, what happens as you tense that part of the body, you restrict the flow of energy to it by putting it in a box in the mind where you don't want that to be a part of your body because you don't want to feel that feeling, right? But in not feeling that feeling and not going through it, the tension remains. And after it's remained for 6 months, a year or so, you don't even know that it's there. It's not even an issue for you anymore. Well, it is an issue, and it would become a greater issue the longer that you hold it. But the fact is, you've blocked it out of your awareness by this point. You're not even aware that you ever had a problem there in the first place, and that you're actually continually tensing it. You know, a perfect example is, of course, the shoulders, which hold a lot of tension as you as you build up tension in your life. That it seems to kind of reside there and become knotted and tense. As you learn to sort of hold yourself in a tense position, which refuses the flow of energy to go through that area, right? Now, this goes onto the chakras, right? Which, as I say, I've been very unsure about the chakra system for a long time. And the reason is because there are so many different examples that people have of what relates to each chakra and what is causing the issue with the chakra. And it gets very complicated, and you can go down a rabbit hole with it, trying to figure out, well, what's real and what's true, right? But I recently saw a video that describes it very simply, and it's an excerpt taken from the film The Last Airbender. Not the film, sorry, it's actually the TV kids show, which I was quite surprised and excited at the fact that children are being exposed to something that's absolutely real. And you know you know in life, right, when you hear something and you know it's the truth, the second you hear it, you know it's the truth, you go, that is the truth, that is how it is. Not in such a way, obviously a lot of people go through their lives and just latch onto things and think that they're the truth, but I don't mean like that. I mean that them things that you hear that you just know, yeah, that's the truth, and even though I can't prove it, at some point soon I'll prove that because it's absolutely true. This was one of those things for me. In fact, it was the case that I had heard the very same example of what relates to each chakra, and the place that I had heard that is from like the Tibetan monks side of things, yeah, the people in the East who really know what they're talking about, as opposed to sort of this westernized Reiki system that seems to kind of have adapted things in such a way that I don't know, it just doesn't work or make sense for me. But yeah, this Tibetan monk side of things also relates quite closely to the Hindu side of Kundalini, right? And the basic principle is that it seems that all or at least half of your energy is Kundalini energy, meaning that it comes up from the earth and it goes in through your perineum and up through the core of yourself, through your 7 chakras, and out through the top of your head, right? The other side to this is that the Reiki practitioners claim that energy comes in through the top of your head, down through the 7 chakras, and out through the bottom, right? That may also be true, and it would make sense if you have got one coming up and one going down. What I can say is that in my personal experience, when I felt energy, when I felt energetic and whole in myself, that the buzzing is more on the lower core of myself. That is where it starts. And for me personally, actually what started my spiritual journey was the fact that I'd gone through what people describe as a Kundalini awakening. For what the hell just happened to me after a series of epiphanies about the world and the way that things function, before I'd ever even researched anything. Then went on to research these things to find out that if you look up Kundalini awakening, it completely describes everything I'd just experienced. I mean, in my opinion, how can you not gravitate towards that being a truth when it seems so self-evident in that way? So that's what led me into it. So yeah, I kind of gravitate more towards the concept of the Kundalini side of things, which is that energy comes up through the bottom of your body, right? Now, this is where it links in with what I was saying earlier, is that you've got your base chakra and your perineum, right? And what was said in this excerpt from a TV show is that this chakra relates to fear and is healed by lack of fear, right? So basically what this means is that if you are in a state of fear, primarily about survival, your survival on planet Earth, right, then you shut down energy from coming in through that point, in my opinion, because you sort of tense that point. And the reason is because what happens is as you feel fear, you get an uncomfortable feeling in your perineum, and then you learn to block that feeling because you refuse it, because you feel, I can't live like this is uncomfortable, right? So you just learn to get by. But what's happening is you're then blocking the energy from coming in because you're refusing to feel it, right? And it is not to say that you must feeling fear is how you resolve it. It's that you haven't overcome the fear by facing the fear and then getting over it truly by feeling it and then going, no, I don't need that at all. And in reality, we're all kept in a massive state of fear from so many different angles. It would be hard to pinpoint exactly what you are fearful of unless you spend a hell of a long time just going around going, do I fear that? Do I fear that? Do I fear these things? And really just digging deep inside yourself and asking yourself, do you fear these things? Or, and can you let go of them? Because what it is that the fear of survival in the modern world has become rather more complex than if you tried to address the fear of survival in Aboriginal times or something, because your fear of survival in ancient times would have been related to simple factors like animals, predators, prey trying to get you, food, have you built a fire, basic things, right, which you could really take care of. Because of the way that our world works and the monetary system and things like this, what happens is your fear of survival becomes linked to when you're going for a job interview, because you see having the job as getting the money as getting the food, because that's the way that you do it. So it gets ever more complex. You see all sorts of other factors, like when you've already got the job, you're in the workplace and someone is threatening your credibility or something, right? That will give you the fear response, because it's threatening, has a potential threat to your job, which has a potential threat to your food supply. And so this all become elements of fear that get linked in together, that because we don't really address the fear, we just kind of refuse to feel it, basically it remains. And what happens is we have no energy at all, because that's the very point where energy is beginning in the body. If you don't have it there, you don't really have it at all. You're just going to be tired all the time and wondering why you can't get yourself together. So that's the first chakra, fear. Once you overcome fear, which is like the initial blockade, which to be perfectly honest, I'd probably imagine the largest portion of humans in the population are literally just experiencing that one state. In fact, that would probably be more realistic to say, particularly the westernised world. So perhaps it wouldn't be the largest portion of the whole world, but particularly the way that we live over here, because we're indoctrinated to feel that way. The media is the whole concept of the media is to continually dump more fear on you that threatens your survival, that causes you to never get out of this chakra. Because if you did, you'd realise that you actually are in complete control of your life, and your thoughts control your reality, and you don't really need a higher up to tell you what to do, and that'd be an issue. So the idea is to keep you like that. I'm sure everybody knows this. So the next one up is guilt. It's the sexual chakra, right? And it harbours your guilt, right? And it's healed by self-forgiveness, right? So what happens is at some point you do something that you feel a little bit guilty about. It generates a rather horrible feeling right down there in your, it's like just on your pubic bone, right? And you feel it. You can feel this in your front section and in your back, about where your tailbone is. You'll feel it go right through you, because chakras do this. They go through the front and out the back, kind of thing, or through the back and out the front. It's irrelevant. But yeah, when you allow yourself to feel whatever the guilt it is that you feel, you will literally feel that come back, and you'll be like, oh god, yeah, that's a horrible feeling. I remember trying to block that one out. And go on, go away. And what happens is that there's an horrible feeling there. We don't want to feel the horrible feeling, or we don't really know or understand how to rectify the feeling, I think is a lot of what it comes to. So the feeling sits there for a few days. We don't really necessarily realise that it is related to the guilt. So we don't know how to heal it, or we don't understand how to forgive ourselves for things, because again, it's perpetuated through the media that if you behave in this certain way, damn right you should feel guilty. And so it becomes like a kind of a norm that if you've moved outside this behaviour, that you should feel guilty about yourself. And it becomes difficult to understand how actually you would rectify that guilt if it appears like it's justified. And so you hold it for a period of time, don't really know what to do about it, learn to block the feeling out. And blocking the feeling is blocking the entire chakra out of your awareness. And if you block it out, it isn't there. It doesn't function anymore. You shut it down because you've chosen not to be aware of it anymore. And so, while you may have overcome fear, if you're still holding guilt, you are going to be, you're going to have some energy, but not a lot, because it hasn't got very far. Or I think it's the chakra, the base chakra relates to basic health, and so if you've got rid of your fear, you probably would have like an alright basic health, but and yet you don't have a lot of energy to use in your world, or it's creativity. Yeah, the energy of creation comes from the sexual chakra. So it's where you're going to be coming up with ideas and then making them happen and having the energy and the motivation to go, yes, I can do this, and I'm making these things occur. And then the next chakra after this is the it's the solar plexus chakra, or, well, in the Reiki terms, they say that it's in the solar plexus. Actually, in most of the East, it's in the navel, right in the belly button. I personally think it's in the belly button, actually. I do believe there is another sub-chakra in the solar plexus, but that it is not this particular chakra. I think the one in the solar plexus is like a sub-chakra for the heart. That's from my own personal experience of sort of trying to feel it out and feel what thoughts cause it to be there, to be able to feel it, what relates to that chakra. So in the third chakra, the navel chakra, it is all about self-power, and the issue that causes it to be out of alignment is shame, being ashamed of yourself. So that's like, if you have not achieved the things that you wanted to achieve by this point in your life, you're going to be feeling sort of ashamed that you never did that. Or things that you could have done that you didn't go and do. You now have this issue that sits in your solar plexus, and you're going to try to learn to ignore it. And the healing for that chakra comes from getting over your being ashamed of yourself, and turning it into being proud of yourself. Now, all things ultimately can actually be taken care of in the mind. You can quite easily justify to yourself, well, you know what, I did what I could. I don't need to feel bad about what I did. I've just done my best, and that is, I've done my best with whatever information I had, and that's all there is to it. And again, it's a kind of a state of forgiveness. Or the other side of it is, if you're ashamed that you haven't achieved this project that's in the back of your world that you have the capacity to do, that you should be doing, then potentially you have to go and do that and find the drive. Be like, that's it. That's what the problem was. I'm going to go and do that. Whatever it takes to make you proud of who you are, right? And that then allows the energy through the first, second and third chakras and into the heart, right? Once it goes into the heart, there is a bit of work to do in terms of feeling love. However, you've opened up these three channels to allow yourself to feel love. And love starts with self-love, right? All love is ultimately self-love. Because once you love yourself, you automatically know that you're related to everyone else, and you will love them too. You can't help it. So the point is that these three chakras at the bottom are really what stop you from feeling love. If you're going around going, I just don't feel love, I haven't got any love for things and I don't know why. Well, it potentially could be the fourth, but realistically, when you've got these three bottom in order, you're buzzing, like proper buzzing. It's hard not to love life when you're all there at that point, because you feel nothing short of amazing. And if you don't feel nothing short of amazing, you've got an issue in the lower three chakras, particularly. That's before you even get anywhere near the higher chakras, right? So this is where I have a bit of an issue with the kind of Reiki thing, where you've got people sort of, right, let's go in there and heal the heart chakra. Well, yeah, potentially it's good to have work or whatever done on your heart chakra, but if your lower three chakras are not letting energy through, if you are not holding that state of mind that allows them to do so, it's irrelevant, really. It's not. It's just going to close again because energy still isn't getting to it. You know, the fact of the matter is that this is again why I have a bit of an issue with the Reiki thing. Your chakras relate to states of mind that you have, that relate to momentary thought processes that you're having. You can adapt and change your chakras to be open, closed in any moment of any time, dependent on the situation, right? It has not really that much of a great bearing on what you do physically to yourself because it's your mental thought process that needs to change, right? So you have to realise that even if you go to great lengths to do certain exercises to open particular chakras like that, unless you've truly moved into the thought process that allows it to stay as it is, it won't. It will just close again because you're still holding the vibration of it closed, the thought process of ignorance to that part of the body, which is what's causing it to be tense and closed down there. You have to go through this process of not just opening it up, but realising that open state on a permanent basis. In truth, a whole balanced body is, as I said at the very beginning, it is a mind open enough to encompass the entire body, right through the whole self, every portion of it, simultaneously, and at the same time the aura, the space around the self, you can feel out here the space around yourself, all without pinpointing, I must think of this, I must remember to think of this, I must remember to think of this. It becomes a natural feeling to just sink into the awareness of the whole self, right? And another thing to note is that when this happens, I picked this up while learning about Kundalini, that when a chakra becomes aligned, the heart beats in that chakra. Do you ever have that thing where you can see your stomach, your heart beating in your stomach, right in your belly button? It's like beating away there. That's when it's moved into alignment. And the same thing you'll get in your pubic bone chakra, and you'll get in your perineum. You get your heartbeat beating in your perineum. I'm sure you'll have felt that before because I imagine everybody has. Basically, when your whole system is actually aligned, yeah, you will feel a heartbeat that resonates through the whole of your body, from the base chakra right up to the crown chakra, almost like a wave, because they don't beat in perfect time. It's like do 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 do, but it just feels like whoom whoom through every part of your body, right? That is you obviously being in perfect alignment with your heart, which requires all of the top three to be in alignment as well. So I'm not going to go into one about the top three because the purpose of this video is to explain how if you've got the bottom three in alignment, the rest will probably start to fall into place. But that also, while it is about the chakras, self-healing in itself is particularly easy. It only requires that you stop resisting the feeling of that part of your body, which you naturally do if you think that you're ill. If you've got cancer in your, lungs, right? You're naturally going to develop a bad feeling about that part of your body, like, oh no, my lungs. Well, I don't want to think about my lungs because they've got cancer. That's the opposite to what you need to do. What you need to do if you've got something like lung cancer is love them. You've got oh, my great lungs. How brilliant they are for letting me breathe. And they're still working and they're going to be fine, right? And that will allow you to let your awareness flow back into that, which is what will heal it. And that is all you need to know about healing. You are perfectly in the capacity to heal yourself at any point. It's not such a case of trying to send energy to a certain place as to realise that you're the one who's stopping it getting there in the first place. And I think that concludes my video. Thank you for watching.